Hello, welcome. This is all about why do you want to be an entrepreneur? The trials and triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps, and this is our kickoff to this series. So I'm super excited. So before I introduce our rock star guest, I just want with hundreds of other entrepreneurs. And what I have discovered, and no surprise for those of you who are out there, entrepreneurship is hard, but it doesn't have to be. If you put certain processes in place and you partner yourself with others who have walked the journey, you can learn so much and have a business that thrives and survives. So this entire series, I have assembled entrepreneurs from all over the world who are here to share their wisdom and exactly why they're on this journey. So my first in the kickoff, an amazing entrepreneur, Kim White of My Sexy Business. She has been an entrepreneur for 40 years. So if anybody has embraced and embodied entrepreneurship, she has. She has written 16 books and has been on stages thousands of times, working with entrepreneurs. We are both on a mission to make sure you're not part of the statistic. Not to be negative, but 2,700 businesses went out just today. And 2,700 will go out each day this year. We're on a mission to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'd like to introduce my rock star, Kim. How are you tonight?
Oh, Maureen, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I am so excited about your mission for this.
Well, can you share a little bit about what My Sexy Business does and what mission you're on doing this company?
Yes, ma'am. You know, I have done the things so many times the wrong way and the hard way and the lonely way. And I found a better way. Like, that's the bottom line. And I want to help other people not suffer some of the things I went through going through entrepreneurship. I started, really young. I am 55, so I'm
I'm really young. When I say 40 years, people are probably sitting here going, I think that's already an exaggeration. But no, it really is true.
It's true. I started my first business as a teenager, and of course it was successful and it failed. Like, I will just say that it did both. But that was one of those things that was such a great learning curve for me, because it really, I got bit by the entrepreneur bug. So I've done a lot of things. Some worked, some didn't. And after this long, I have figured out I do not want a business that owns me. I want to own it. So I'm on a mission to help people not trade time for money when they don't have to. A lot of people will leave a corporate job and create a corporate company. There's nothing wrong with being corporate, but when you want freedom and you want to do the other things, then you create something that mimics exactly what you left. That's just not a good move. So
Doesn't work.
no.
So I really want you to share some wisdom. So you said that things didn't work out, but you learn from them, and that is entrepreneurship. We make a lot of mistakes, especially in the beginning. We have a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of isolation, and we're really maneuvering through uncharted territory with a lot of moving parts. Where do you see the greatest challenges today for new entrepreneurs? We had 5 million join entrepreneurship just last year. So imagine, I love the fact that they are embracing it and going out on their own, but what typical challenges do you see them starting with?
I think there's two main challenges that I see the most. The first one is pride. They think, or they feel like they're not smart if they have to ask for help, or they have to ask for, something to learn something. And it's just not true. None of us are born knowing how to do anything. Walking, all the talking, we have to learn all those things. But for some reason, when someone starts entrepreneurship, they think they just automatically should know that stuff. And it's not true. So I think that's the first one. The second one is not understanding they have to make money in their business to stay a business. A lot of the ones that have the attitude of I'm on a mission, but I'm afraid to make money, or I don't feel like it's right to make money when you're doing something to impact people, they're not here next year when you need them. They're not here. They're part of that statistic because they haven't understood you have to make money in your business in order to stay in business. So those are my two main things I see the majority of the time.
Well, I think a lot of people start hobbies. They have a business, they think, but really at the end of the day, they're so in the red that they really have a hobby. And that is one thing that I do see as well. And the pride thing really hits home because when I started my first company, I thought I could do it all. You come from a big corporate job, you have all this experience. It's like I was super successful at that. I'm going to be super successful as an entrepreneur. And I'm not going to ask for help until sometimes it gets too deep and too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we say to people, there are people around you who are willing to help you.
Yes.
So I would like to know, in your career, what did you think was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur? Because I don't think those are the two things. I don't know if pride came into it. And I think that you've always known that if you're going to impact people, you got to make money. So is there a certain challenge you had to overcome?
I think there was a list of challenges. Like I just to be honest, I think at this point in my life, I understand that messy is beautiful and that messy shows progress. That we're not going to do something perfect, and sometimes it takes several messy things to really learn a lesson well enough to, to fix whatever the problem is or the underlying problem. I came from poverty. I came from, having nothing when I was growing up. I didn't even know an entrepreneur when I was growing up, as far as I didn't have any example before me. And so I had a lot of figuring out to do when I was young. I still have a lot of figuring out to do. I want to say that out loud. Um, that's just how it is. You if you think that you can just step into being an entrepreneur, all the answers, you can just make it look just like a corporate job you came from. It's a scary thing for me to hear that because it's just not true. So challenges were I didn't know how to handle money. Challenges where I didn't know how to handle my time. Challenges, like there's a lot of challenges that you have to just be realistic with. Give yourself some grace and give yourself some time to learn some things, but don't stop. That's the biggest one. Just don't stop.
So I can relate to that because when I had my first company, like I said, I thought I really had it together. But what I realized is, I mean, you said you didn't know how to handle money. I didn't figure out how to price my product. And if you don't price it correctly, you're like in the red the whole time. And pricing is hard. I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. And I think they underprice themselves. They don't get paid what they're worth
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people are so unsure, have so much self-doubt, and when mistakes are happening, you get more and more self-doubt and the confidence declines more and more. And that's why I say stop the mistakes immediately. In fact, don't even make them. Just don't make them from the beginning. So, what is your greatest success in your company?
Well, this might surprise you as far as what I consider a success, but it's the freedom. It's it's the freedom to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, where I want, how I want. Like I am really, really independent. I am super um well, I'm just all about the freedom part. And I think it comes from not being free. It comes from that place of being dictated to and being trapped in poverty, being trapped in survival mode, being trapped in those places. I think because of that, I value that I get to do what I want every day and I love it.
Isn't though that what entrepreneurship, what we should be striving for? I think we go into it, at least I hope, is that people want control of their destiny. They want to be the one that makes the decisions for them and their family. And especially today, and I think that's why so many people went into it. But what you just said is really the greatest success of entrepreneurship. It's doing what you love, but having the freedom to decide if that's what you love, if that's what you want to continue doing. And that's, I think, the biggest goal that we have out there. So tell me what my sexy business is, because some people with the name, we talk about spicy and, I want to know how you came up with the name and exactly what you're doing with entrepreneurs. And also, why did you come up with this specific business? So I have like 3 questions going. So, how about the name first?
Okay. I was looking for something branding wise that was iconic, nostalgic, that it represented something long term, something that would last a long time. And it was relational. And for me, that's what the word sexy actually comes to mind when you think about red lips and those kind of things. You think about, way back there were red lips in the movies, and they lasted a long time. Normally it was about relationships, and we're about business relationships. I want to make that clear so nobody is, misunderstanding. But I also named it my sexy business so that everyone who worked with us, they actually were claiming their sexy business. It's not about me having one. It's actually about all of the entrepreneurs we work with owning that they have one. So it was very intentional. It was very much spicy, and I knew it would be. I knew it would be, but I think it's worth it. I want it to represent something very iconic and that will last and be here long term.
I think you did that. And I think you touched on something super important. And that's all about branding. I think that, I mean, I'm a firm believer you build your brand before you ever build your company, because then you really have a solid identity. You know who you are and who you serve. And obviously, you can talk directly to them with things that are relevant and resonate. Okay, that's the first step. I mean, that's my message out there to new businesses is please elevate your value to accelerate revenue. And it all starts with branding. So tell me, why this type of company? I mean, you've been doing this for 40 years. I don't think this company's been around for 40 years, right?
No, ma'am. This company is a sexy. It is a sexy business, and I've had ugly businesses.
Hmm.
I will tell you, I had the dream and I had the goal of having an office building full of people, and being in my mind that was super successful. That would be what represented success to me at the time. And I realized when I got that, it wasn't that at all. It was actually pride. It was something that when I decided to do something different, I recognized how ugly that business actually was. Like how I had set things up to basically strangle me. It was taking the life out of me. I didn't have the ability to travel. I didn't have the ability to do a lot of things that I wanted to do. And that's not sexy. Like,
Mm-mm.
it's not sexy to be harnessed. I always call it harnessing. Whenever you harness a pony, you tell it where to go. And that's what my business had done. It had harnessed me to the point of I couldn't do anything except just be there. And when I changed that, I determined I would never do that again. I would never, because that was the first time I had really understood that I could do something different. And I'm all about being living proof of something. So when I set out to do what I have done, I wasn't positive it would work. I didn't know anyone else who was like doing that. And I went for it, and it absolutely works.
And how many years now have you had my sexy business?
It's been about 7. It,
Wow.
it's been one of the most amazing experiences because it has given me, not only has it given me freedom, but it's given like hundreds of other people freedom to start and do things. And it's actually helped thousands of people do it as a student. Like I've had several thousand students come through that have learned different parts of doing a different way. But I've actually been in the trenches with quite a few hundreds in mastermind situations so that they actually learn the difference. Sometimes it's not what we have to learn, sometimes it's what we have to unlearn. And we have an idea of how things have to work, and they don't have to work, the way that everybody tells you. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I love that. And I love the fact that you've been able to really make an impact, Kim, on so many people on so many different levels. And you have how many people now working for you?
Our team has just hit the 60 mark.
Woo!
So it was pretty exciting. It's a big responsibility. Like I won't pretend it's not, because there are still things we're still working out, some things, to have gotten that big. But it is, to me, it's amazing because the business supports a lot of mamas, a lot of single mamas, a lot of married mamas, but that they want to stay with their babies. And so they don't necessarily have the skills to do some of the things we're doing. And we've brought them in and trained them and helped them learn how to do things, how to start their own businesses. So that's another side to our business, but that's the team. The team is absolutely incredible.
And I love that because you and I have talked, and you don't necessarily hire for skill, you hire for character. We've spoken about that. And I say to entrepreneurs out there all the time, when you start to build your team, look at people who are honest, authentic, open minded. You can teach them anything. You can teach them anything, but it's very hard to teach, I think, communication skills, EQ. That's the whole thing. And I think that's what will make entrepreneurs incredibly successful, when they surround themselves with people who are honest, who can communicate, and who are open minded. So I totally see it.
What?
So I know that we've spoken, and you're trying to put together a legacy brand, right? A legacy company. Can you let people know what that actually means? And kind of that's a really big scale. I mean, it isn't, you're taking this to a whole other level. So for those people who envision themselves scaling like this and wanting to do this, can you explain to them what a legacy brand is?
Yes, ma'am. And I might have a different definition than some others. It might be a little different, but I will tell you my definition of it. I want this business to live on without me. I want it to live on and continue having the ability to help entrepreneurs and help, the right kind of entrepreneurs. We are all about impact and making money. Like I want to make sure that I put that in there, because a lot of people think it's just about impact. But the better I can do, the better impact I can have on more people, and the better all the businesses I work with can do, the more impact they can have. So this business and the entrepreneurs attached to it will live on after I'm gone. And I think that that's a huge I think it's a huge thing when you can find a team who wants it to live on, who, clients who want it to live on. I think all of that is just super, again, it's super sexy to be able to know that all of the things you put into something, you're not, they don't pass with you. They don't just stop because you're gone.
I really love that. And what's amazing about that is when we talk about how many entrepreneurs will not get to that point, it kind of saddens me. And that's why I say to people, it isn't just the first year that 20% will go out. In the third year, 30% will go out. And at the 5-year mark, 50%. So think about it, Kim. You have built a company that is past that mark. And so you've got to be putting some processes in place that allow you to do that. And I'd like you to share, is there a particular process that you would recommend entrepreneurs execute in their business?
So I'm going to take you back to kindergarten. And I know that everybody laughs because of the level that we are on, but kindergarten is really where we learn simple things. And I think if your process is complicated, you won't keep doing it. So I think it's very important to get processes in place that are simple to follow, simple for someone else to follow. A lot of the big brands that you can think of, that's how they got to be big brands, were because they made things simple enough to follow. And my kindergarten princess self, that is something that I call sticky note time. And it's really a process of figuring out what it is you want and then figuring out how to get it. And it sounds very simplistic, and it's not easy, but it's very simple. That there's a difference. But that is what's created a lot of things in my life that are, sexy about my life and about this business. Is I got very clear about what I wanted and clear about what I didn't want. And that is the process I use to build this business and to build the life that I live.
So would your advice be get clear from the get-go? I think that's why we have such a connection. My company's called 8 Simple Steps. There was a reason for that. And some people will say, well, how come not 10 or 12 or 6? And I based it on the goldfish syndrome. Goldfish have the attention span of 9 seconds. People have the attention span of 8. We have so much information coming at us in every way. And I think that's another reason why we make our business so complicated, because we have access to so much from so many different platforms, articles, videos. But the overwhelm with that can actually hinder you unless you have somebody to say, okay, this doesn't really work and this really does work. Let us streamline the content coming at you, because I think you're right. When they got too much coming at them, I think they check out. I don't think they do anything. It's like paralysis from analysis and too much. And that's why I said, you can build a business in 8 simple steps. I know how to do it. I will show you how to do it. And it goes back to what you said. Don't make it complicated. And I've heard you say life is complicated. Business doesn't have to be. And I love that. I think that could be like a tagline that you could use, right?
Thank you. You're always you are always helping everybody around you, and I love that about you, because that is one thing. When you are an entrepreneur, you need to surround yourself with people like Maureen. That is definitely something that it means a lot to have that community, that togetherness. You don't have to be a solopreneur. You don't have to be those things and figure out things the hard way and take way longer. Going to someone like you, Maureen, is absolutely the key to getting things done much more quickly and way less painful.
Yeah. And I think that's because I went through so much pain with my first company. And just like you said, it's trial and error. It's things not working out, but it doesn't have to be that way today. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are tuning into this, and I know a lot of them will watch the video. And I say to people, you can't Google your way to building a business that will generate revenue, acquire profitability, and secure sustainability. It just doesn't happen. And I think you're living proof of that's a pride thing when we go Google it all day long and say, I can do it myself. And I am totally at fault for doing that in my first company. I'm the first to admit that I did not reach out for help until I almost lost it all. Not a good way to go.
Your transparency, though, I want to say that out loud. Your transparency makes it so much easier to reach out to you, because we look around us and people are not telling the truth a lot of times. We get creepy marketers. That's one of my pet peeves.
No.
We get creepy marketers telling us that we can make $1 million by the weekend. And the truth is, that's not the way it works. And so don't drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, I don't know how to be nice about that. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Find somebody that actually has done business and is actually doing business, not someone who just wants to tell you what they're not doing. I think that's a really important piece of this puzzle for entrepreneurs to know, because you're not handicapping entrepreneurs, you're empowering them.
Thank you, Kim. So I'm going to ask you a spicy question. Here we go. Are there people, in your opinion, who should not be entrepreneurs?
This is one of those questions that is definitely spicy.
I knew it would be, because there are people out there who are entrepreneurs right now, and maybe they were pushed into it because they've been displaced in a marketplace and they're kind of kicking and screaming. But who should not be an entrepreneur?
I think at the end of the day, you have to look at what you want out of life. If what you want out of life is to be able to go and clock in at a job and leave in the evening and spend your weekends at the lake, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a job. I think a lot of people have become trendy with the word entrepreneur. And so it's kind of peer pressure. Oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, you just work a job. Well, that's not the way to be, because you know what? They could turn around to us sometimes and say, well, I have a paycheck and you don't. Like they also can say something back. So I think being respectful of whatever path someone wants to take is really important for all of us. It doesn't matter what flavor we are. We need to be respectful of what someone wants. If someone doesn't want to be doing what they're doing, then I challenge you to figure out a different way. But if you are being told to be an entrepreneur and that's not what you want to be, because some people don't want it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think finding out what you want is more important than the label that you're attaching to it. And I know you agree, Maureen, like this is a spicy conversation we may get pushback for. But I think at the end of the day, you don't want to help someone create something they hate. That's the difference.
I agree. There's nothing worse than getting up every day and hating what you do and not feeling like you are making an impact. And entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It really isn't. But you're right. Everybody thinks it's kind of a sexy thing. I own a company. No, I'd say it's probably not very sexy at all with how much work you have to do. But like you said, you can make it that way. So for people who have a side hustle right now and are thinking about taking the leap, they're working their corporate job, doing a few clients on the side. What advice would you give them when they're ready to jump? What should they have in place?
Well, I definitely think there should be several things in place. I think that one, getting connected to you, that's going to be one of my recommendations.
Oh, thank you.
I think anytime you are going to take a leap like that, make sure you really know why. Make sure that you understand why it's important to you to do it. If you hate your boss, that's not a good reason to go into business. Get a different job, maybe. But if you want freedom, if you want if you want different things like the freedom, know it comes at a cost. Know that it comes at a price, that you will have to swallow your pride and let go of your ego, learn things, find people to connect to. I think those are really important things that a lot of people don't consider when they're thinking about their side hustle. Your side hustle might be something easy, but when it's supporting your family, you need to have someone you can ask those questions to of, why isn't this working? Or what do I do now? Or how do I know if I'm profitable? Even the littlest of questions. Don't let your pride or your ego keep you from asking.
I think that's amazing. Amazing advice. So I would like to know so many more things, but I want to be cognizant of people's time. I would like to know how people can get a hold of you, Kim. If they have a question about what you do and how they can get help from you, how do they reach you?
I think our website's probably the easiest. If they go to My Sexy Business, they'll find us there. Just be careful what you Google and make sure, we are.
Make sure it's mysexybusiness.com. So put the whole URL in. Is that what you're recommending?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
You don't know what you'll get. And certainly follow you on LinkedIn, and you've got Facebook, and you've got Instagram, and you have amazing Clubhouse rooms. For anybody who hasn't been on Clubhouse, go to My Sexy Business. She runs amazing rooms. You are a rock star. You are a rock star.
Well, thank you for that opinion, ma'am. But I will say I have a pretty amazing co-mod in a lot of those rooms too. If you haven't met her, it's Maureen.
I say to people, give more than you take, because you will be able to multiply your impact. My goal this year is to impact 100 entrepreneurs. That has been my mission. My message are all those mistakes I have made to make sure you avoid them, as well as the successes I've had, because it's a learning experience. I mean, that's all I can say. So for those of you who have been tuning in, or you'll watch the replay, I want to thank you for doing that. But when I told you I had a rock star here, I have a rock star with Kim White of My Sexy Business. And certainly tune in on Thursdays at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I have more rock stars coming your way, ready to share their wisdom, ready to share how they can overcome challenges and the successes they've had. So if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be here on Thursdays. Now, if you want to reach out to me and learn more about what I do, you can reach out to 8simplesteps.net. Follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Clubhouse too. I'd love to know what's going on with your business and how I can help you basically eliminate the overwhelming complexity of building a business. Because as we talked about tonight, it's all about simplicity. So keep it simple, everybody. And Kim, will you come back?
Yes, ma'am. I'd be honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And I am so glad to not just know you as a peer in entrepreneurship, but as a really good friend. I just love you.
I love you. Thank you.
All right. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.